Albemarle County. I was born and raised here. I went to Albemarle High School, graduating class in 1968.
How was your childhood?
My childhood was great. I'm from
I can see
15 kids,
That's why I'm changing my fucking name.
besides myself. I had a great childhood with all of us at home, but there is only 8 of us living.
What was your initial plan as far as a career after high school or while you were in high school?
Well, when I was in high school, in my senior year, I was the first male student in Albemarle County in the state of Virginia open to male students. I was a nursing student. But my goal was to go in the military after high school and to get my college education.
How'd you get into the military?
I enlisted.
What service branch did you join?
Army.
Wow.
It's in my family. It goes way back to the Revolutionary War.
What was your boot camp or training experience like?
I was at Fort Benning, Georgia, where there's Ranger School and Jump School. I was there for 8 weeks, and I was trained, of course, as a combat infantryman. That's your first priority when you go to basic training. That's what you learn how to be.
And how exactly did you get through it?
It was a knack for me. It was easy. It was no problem. I was born military, so, you know.
Tell me about your most memorable experiences out of boot camp or just in a boot.
Well, the most memorable experience I had was when I was in, when I left boot camp and I went to Fort Gordon, Georgia for my MOS. I was a communication specialist in the Army, and I went there to learn about different types of communication equipment. And I put that to good use when I went to Vietnam. But my most memorable experience was that I got to work with a bunch of great guys there when I was in Vietnam, plus with the South Vietnamese. The real experience was we got rocket attack all the time. One night, we got a rocket attack. And we woke up. That morning was all over with daybreak. There was a dead rocket in the middle of the street. If it had gone off, it would have killed a bunch of us.
What was your military rank?
I was an E5, Sergeant E5.
What did you do that?
It's between a Spec 4 and an E6. Well, my free time during the war, I spent a lot of time traveling back and forth from where I was stationed at Long Binh to Saigon. Plus, we had our own theater, we had our own swimming pool on post, we had our own bar, our own NCO club. We had all that, so I spent a lot of time with the boys doing what we boys do.
After the military, what did you do as a career?
I had several jobs. When I got out, I moved to Fort Gordon, Georgia with my first wife, and I worked for the government, for the VA. And then when I moved back here, I worked for different companies, but my initial goal, I worked at UVA for 30 years before I retired.
How did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military?
That's a hard question. In general, it's like I'm very patriotic because of my military background with my family. So I'm very fortunate that was bestowed in me when I was growing up, and it carried me in my military as well as in my civilian life, because discipline was something that I didn't have before I went to the service. The morning was all over with daybreak. There was a dead rocket in the middle of the street. If it had gone off, it would have killed a bunch of us. E5, Sergeant E5.
What is that?
It's between a Spec 4 and a E6.
What did you do in your free time?
Well, my free time during the war, I spent a lot of time traveling back and forth from where I was stationed at Long Bend to Saigon. Plus, we had our own theater, we had our own swimming pool on post, we had our own bar, our own NCO club. We had all that, so I spent a lot of time with the boys.
After the military, what did you do as a career?
I had several jobs. When I got out, I moved to Fort Gordon, Georgia with my first wife, and I worked for the government, for the VA. And then when I moved back here, I worked for different companies, but my initial goal, I worked at UVA for 30 years before I retired.
How did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military?
In general, it's like I'm very patriotic because of my military background with my family. So I'm very fortunate that was bestowed in me when I was growing up, and it carried me in my military as well as in my civilian life. Because discipline was something that I didn't have before I went to the service, and I got discipline. I was in there, and it carried me over for the rest of my life, even today. Yeah, ask me anything, off the record if you want.
All right. How did you stay in touch with your family?
Letters. I wrote letters home every chance I got to my first wife and to my mother when I was there.
I guess, what was the most scariest moment out of the war that you had?
During the war?
Yeah.
The most scariest moment was when I was on guard duty and we were guarding the Highway 1 in Vietnam, and we heard this rattle in the cantina wire. So we threw up the flares. We thought we had a cipher coming in. Unfortunately, it was one of the Vietnamese buffalo got loose and one on Highway 1, and unfortunately got into the cantina wire, and it was steak burgers after that.
I know Vietnam was like a jungle, so did like any other animals play a part?
Up north, they had tigers and elephants up north, but we had monkeys that would eat you up. Oh yes, we had a lizard over there that was real poisonous. Snakes was the biggest thing because we had cobras and all. And when it rained, in the monsoon, they would come inside and all, be everywhere. We had venomous snakes that was no bigger than a foot long or more that would kill you instantly when they bit you in a matter of seconds.
Did you make any close friendships while in service?
Oh yes, I made a lot of friends when I was there because I was a likable person, and outgoing, and I've always been like that. And yeah, I had a lot of great friends. Unfortunately, we haven't communicated since I've been out to the Vietnam War.
What was the food like?
Food was good. I mean, we had some of the best cooks over there that you want to see, and we had barbecues now and then. We had big, huge steaks, and we had all that good stuff. Food was great, But the main thing is you never eat the food on the Vietnamese economy because you can easily get food poisoning.
What would you say? What major difference is there between the military back then and the military now?
Well, the military back then, it wasn't sophisticated like it is now. If we had the weapons of today we had back then the Vietnam War would not have lasted as long as it did.